Well, hello. How we doing today? Awesome. All right, so we're going to get started today. We're going to do a warm-up, of course, at first. So let's do some jumping jacks to begin. Put your feet together, put your hands at your side, and let's do some good jumping jacks. So jumping jacks to warm up. Ready? Go. And yame. Let's get straddle stance. Make sure those knees are bent really wide. Put those arms out to the side. And let's make little circles. A little faster. Backwards. A little bigger. Big ones. Forwards. A little faster. A little tighter. Now open and close your hands really fast. Really fast. Bring them in front. Now start squeezing. Open squeeze, open squeeze. Make those forearms and hands strong. Out front. Down here. And yeah, man. Good. Put your hands on your belt. Let's move our heads up and down. Loosen up the neck, right and left. Shoulders in a circle forward. Shoulders backwards. Cool. Just back in that straddle stance, and let's do some punches. Put the right hand out, put the left hand in the chamber. We're going to do some nice punches. We'll start off slow, moving faster. First couple slow. Ready? Hey. Hey. Good. Hey. Hey. Let's do a few good ones, strong ones with key eyes. Hey. Ready, hey, ready, hey, ready, hey, ready, hey, ready, hey. Very good. Get those legs out wider, nice and wide. And let's stretch down. Put your hands on the floor. Go to the right side, stretch. Left side, stretch. Center, stretch down. Go a little wider. Stretch to the right. And to the left. And to the middle. Cool, and a little bit wider. A little bit wider. Go as wide as you can. Stretch down the middle. Good. Now keep your hands on the ground. What I want you to do is slowly bring your feet together, but not letting your knees bend. So we'll come up a little bit at a time, and then stretch down. A little closer. Stretch it down. A little closer. Stretch it down. A little closer. I want you to try to get as close as you can now without bending those knees. Keep those knees straight. Awesome. Good job. All right, shake it out. All right, we're going to do some what's called dynamic stretching. Dynamic stretching means that we're going to be moving while we're stretching. This is called swing kicks. So we're going to take our left foot, put it back behind us. And what you're going to do is you're going to, instead of kicking like with a snap kick, you're going to swing straight up and back. And that sort of stretches out the leg. So here we go. Ready, hike, up and down. Ready, hike, and down. Ready, hike, and down. And again, ready, hike, up and down, and switch your feet. Let's try the other side. Ready, hike, up and down. Hike, stretch, there you go. It's the dynamic stretch, up and down. And again, up and down. Good. All right, have a seat. And let's make sure you can see me okay. And let's do figure fours. Let's have that foot Legs straight, knee locked out, stretch it down. And up. And down, 2 hands, down. And up. And down. And up. And chin down to your knee. Stretch it down. Good. And up. And switch your feet. Stretch it down. And up. Down. And up. One more. Down. And up and chin over to your knee. Cool. Legs out wide. Point your toes straight up in the air. We're going to use 2 hands. Down to the right and up. Down to the left. Down to the right. Down to the left. Now down to the center. Down to the center. Down to the center. Breathe out as you go down. Say the word down, down, as you go down. Down. That ensures that you're breathing out. Down. And down. And feet together. So here we go. Alright, this time we're going to say yes. Stretch it out. Ready? Yes. Now, if you can't reach your toes, that's okay. But I don't want you to bend your knees. I want you to keep your knees straight with your toes pointed straight up. Okay? So if you can't reach, just go as far as you can. Now, if it's easy for you to touch your toes, I want you to go past them. All right? So go as far as you can without bending. Here we go. Ready? Down. And. Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying yes. Yes. And. Yes. And. Yes. And. Yes. And. Yes. All right. Let's make those tummies strong. Let's get on our backs. We'll do some crunches. I'll count, you count after me. We'll count in Japanese. Here we go. Ready? Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, ku, ju, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, ku, and ju. Okay, good. Everybody up. All right, awesome. All right, let's work on practice some kicks today. So let's put our right foot back in a front stance. Keep your hands up. We're going to do some good front snap kicks. Ready, height, ice. 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 And ready, height, ice. And switch your feet. All right, let's do some on the other side now. Hands are up. Ready, height, ice. Snap them out, curl the toes up. Height, 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 ice. Height, ice. Height, and height. Nice. Good. A couple deep breaths. All right. Next, let's get into a side-facing horse stance. So you're going to have your left foot forward. You're going to be facing me. You're going to be kicking with your left foot. Hands up. Side snap kicks. Ready, height, ice. 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 Ready, height. Ready, height, ice. Switch feet. Let's try the other side. Hands up. Ready, height, ice. 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 All right, cool. All right, let's do some back kicks today. So remember, when we do a back kick, what we want to do is we want to look over the shoulder of the side we're kicking with. So if we're kicking with my right, would be your left to be in the front, right? You're going to look over the same side that you're kicking on, right? So I'm just going to be right here by this little bag. Hands up, looking over your shoulder. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. And height, nice. Look over the other shoulder. Here we go. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. Height, nice. And height, nice. All right, cool. All right, couple deep breaths. All right, I want to practice some stances today. We don't do that often, but they're stances that are important because you're going to need them, and especially when you move into the next class. We use those in a few of the forms that we do. So I'm going to step back there far enough so you can see my feet. And the first one we're going to do is a T stance. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my rear foot, in your case it would be your right foot, and I want you to point it straight that way. Straight to the side. Then you're going to take your other foot and you're going to place it facing right towards the video, right towards me. Then you're going to look down. I want you to see where your toes are, and I want you to move your heel out to where your toes are. Okay? Now, you're going to bend both legs, and you're going to have the front leg on the ball of the foot. The back leg will be flat on the ground, but it'll be pointing that way. This one's pointing this way. Let's have our hands open like in Shuto positions, right? So this is called a T stance. T stance. Let's try the other side. So this time, I want you to take your left foot, point it straight that way. Take your right foot and touch your left foot, but point this one straight to the front. And look down at your feet, see the ball of your foot, and move your heel out to where the ball of the foot is. Now, bend. You're on the ball of the foot on the front, you're on your full flat foot on the back. Now here's a trick on these. You need to have all the weight, almost all the weight on the back leg, right? So if I face sideways to show you, right? What I want to do is I want to be able to lift up that leg without leaning. So I need to kind of shift my hips over a little bit and put all the weight on the back leg. I'll show you on the other side. So from here, I want to be able to lift it up without falling, right? If you have too much weight here, you're not going to be able to do that. You want to have all the weight on that back leg. Cool. So that is a T stance. Now, I want you to look at I'm going to get a little closer, so you might not be able to see my feet, but I want you to watch my hip and shoulder position. So on a T stance like this, right, my hips, see the angle that my hips are on when I'm in this stance, right? My hips are on this angle. Now, we're going to do a cat stance, and you'll see the difference of our body position. So the next one is a cat stance. So what we're going to do with a cat stance is we're going to take the rear leg, and I want you to point it to the corner. So not to the side, not to the front, halfway in between. Then the front foot is you're going to put your heels together, and you're going to point your front foot straight towards me. Let me back up a little bit so you can see better, right? Straight towards me. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at where our toes are, move our heel out to where our toes are, and bend. Again, all the weight is going to be on the back. You're going to be on the ball of the foot, right? Ball of the foot with the front foot, flat on the ground with the rear foot, have our hands up, and then again, you should be able to lift that front foot up without leaning, right? Without leaning. That shows you're in a good stance and you have all the weight on the back leg. So let's switch feet again. So now the rear foot is going to be pointed to the corner. So here's the front, here's the side, halfway in between. We're going to put heel to heel and move your heel out to where your toes are right now. Bend, put the weight all on the back leg, and you're on the ball of the front foot, right? And again, you should be able to lift up without leaning over, right? I'll show you what that one looks like from the side. So from here, I should be able to hold that stance with my foot off the ground without leaning or anything, okay? Now, I remember how when I was in the T stance before, remember the angle of my hips? Watch what happens on a cat stance. See, my hips are almost straight. They're almost a little bit angled, but mostly straight, as opposed to the T stance, all right? So those are cats and T's. So, like, what's the purpose of these stances? Well, one of the things is because there's such a little amount of weight on the front foot, it becomes easy to do a nice snappy kick, all right? So I have the bag here just on the edge of the screen. I'm not going to kick it hard, I'm just going to kind of touch it, but just to give you the idea. So I'm sitting in position here. I want to be able to lift up real quick, be able to drop that kick in right away. So that's the purpose of these stances, to be able to shift the weight and get that front foot kick off like really quick. Okay? All right, next. I want to give you some stepping tips because soon you're going to be doing some forms and some katas, and in there we have some very special stepping that you need to do, and some of it's a little confusing. So if we start now, it'll be a big advantage for you. Okay? So first off, let's go into our turning to the rear. So I'm going to step back again so you can see my feet. So if I wanted to turn directly behind me, but I want to stay in a straight line. In other words, I don't want to turn this way so I'm not in that straight line anymore. I want to stay in that straight line because maybe somebody's right behind me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rear foot and I'm going to step straight across behind my front foot. Then I'm going to pivot and step out. And so now you'll see it from the other side. So I step across and I step out. So notice I keep on the same line that I was before. Step across, step out. Step across, step out. So this takes a little practice to be able to do that turn, but it's important that you're able to do it, okay? Let's try a couple more. I'll get where you can see me. In fact, I'm going to do these sideways this time, right? So from here, I'm going to step across, step out. Step across, step out. Once you get comfortable with it, you can make that turn really quickly, right? You can make it really quickly. So it's a matter of practice, right? Okay. So we also want to be able to shuffle. You know how we do our shuffle steps from our horse stance, right? We usually step up, right? We want to be able to shuffle from the front stance too, to be able to close a gap. So for example, I'll move this a little bit closer so you can catch it. So if I was here, right, and I wanted to throw a palm heel strike, I can't really reach this guy, right? So I want to be able, rather than taking a step forward, which takes a long time and exposes me, I want to be able to just move in a little closer really quick, boom, to be able to do it, right? So watch again. So from here, boom, I'm in. From here, I'm in. Or I can even strike with my front hand. I can't reach now, right? Boom, but I can. So this is the stepping on that. This is how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push off on my rear foot, right? Push off on my rear foot, step, slide. Push off, step, slide. Push off, step, slide. Let's turn the other way. Let's try it together, all right? So here we are. Just keep your hands up. We're going to push off of this one, step, slide. And then turn. So let's do it. Let's do it a little faster going in this direction, right? So you can really advance really, really quickly with that and put yourself in range. You know, can you shuffle back? Yeah, you can shuffle back too if you need to, right? So if I'm here, maybe I'm a little too close to my opponent, shuffle back, shuffle back. So you can go forward or backwards. I suggest that you practice this. It would be really important to do that. Okay. So the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to review the wrist, a couple of the wrist releases. So we practice the same side wrist release, right? And we practice the cross wrist in class. So cross wrist would be person on this side is grabbing me this way. Same side, the person on this side is going to be grabbing me, right? So on the same side wrist release, I'm going to make a fist. I always want to make a fist first so he doesn't grab my fingers and break my fingers. So I make a fist, and I always step out with which leg? Who remembers which leg? The rear leg, right? Or the opposite leg, I should say. So this is my right hand. I want to step back with my left leg. So first thing I do is make a fist, and as I step, I want to turn my wrist. I'm turning my wrist against the thumb. Now, I just want to tell you guys something. So, I was going to talk about this later, but I want to mention this now. Since I don't have an opponent here to practice with or to demonstrate with, and you might have somebody to practice with at home. So here's what I'm going to do. This is all being recorded, right? So tonight, when I edit these out and I get them recorded, hopefully by tonight I have them up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on some footage tonight from one of my self-defense DVDs that's going to show you all 4 of the basic wrist releases that we do, right? You're going to see all of them there. So I suggest that you go through this class again. You don't have to do it today, maybe the next couple, maybe 2 or 3 days from now. Practice this class again, but watch the whole video, because at the end I go through all of those wrist releases step by step with explanations, okay? So now we're doing it without an opponent. It's a little harder to visualize or what I'm doing, but I think you can get it. So he's got this wrist, I make a fist, I turn my wrist this way, and all that does is it puts the bone against his thumb. I always want to go against the thumb. That's the weak spot, right? So I turn it towards the thumb, I step back with the opposite leg, whip the arm back, and then I'm back. I can just say, back off, leave me alone, right? So once again, I'll try the other side. He's got my wrist, I make a fist, I turn a little bit, I step back, break the hold, on guard. Maybe if it's a bad situation, I have my hands up this way. If it's not, I might just go like this. Once again, this time again, let's assume it's a bad situation. I make a fist, I step back, I back fist. Again, on this side, right, I turn, back fist. Okay? So, again, you don't need to strike if it's, somebody that's grabbing your arm and you don't want them to do it. But it's not like a bad person. It's just maybe, somebody in the neighborhood or somebody at school, and you don't want them pulling on you, grabbing on you. They don't have a right to hurt you or pull on you or touch you, really. And so, but you don't want to hit them, so you just put your hands up and be assertive and say, back off. Okay, so next wrist release I want to talk about is a cross wrist. So this is when somebody's right goes to your right, right? So they have me in a cross wrist grab. They've got my wrist. Now remember, if I just make a fist and turn, I'm not going to be pulling against where? The thumb, right? The thumb is the weak spot. I'm going to be pulling against his whole hand. I'm not going to get out if the person's strong. So for me to be able to pull on the thumb, I have to make a little circle over the top of their wrist. Over the top. If I go under the bottom, I'm pulling against the whole hand. I have to go over the top, and then the rest of it's the same. I step back, back off, leave me alone. Let's try the other side. Cross wrist, they have me here. I make a fist, same reason as before. I want to make a little circle over the top, pull back off, leave me alone. So the reason we step back is that we're using our body to add to the force of the arm. If I start with my foot way back here and I try to do that, I'm not going to be nearly as powerful. If I have my feet in a natural position and I go to do that, what happens is I add a lot of power to that technique. So remember, it's a small circle over the top. Always remember over the top. If I go under, I'm pulling against his whole hand, right? So I need to come over the top to break the hold. Okay, so next wrist release we're going to do is when somebody grabs you with both hands on one of your wrists. So we call this a 2-on-1 wrist release, right? So in that case, they've got me. Again, I'm still going to make a fist, even though it's not as important now because they already have me with both hands, so they can't really twist my fingers. Now I'm going to take this hand, the other hand, and I'm going to go over both of their arms, and I'm going to grab my own hand. Looks like this way. So we never do this, right? We never interlace. It's this way, right? It's this way, right? So from here, we come down, we grab nice and tight. The rule is step back with which foot? The opposite foot. He's got, in my case, my right arm. I step back with my left foot, break the hold, on guard, back off, leave me alone, right? He has the other one. I reach over the top. I grab my hand. Remember, never this way, always this way, right? I step back, break the hold. If it's a bad situation, I back fist, and then I'm on guard. Once again on this side, he grabs, reach over the top, grab nice and tight, break the hold, back off, leave me alone. And when you do that back off, leave me alone, I want you to look him right in the eye and have a good, strong voice on that. Maybe next week we'll go through some of the assertive behavior points, which are really important. Okay, the next one we're going to do is a double wrist. A double wrist means they're grabbing both of your wrists with each of their hands, right? They got both wrists, one on each hand. And this one is different because we're not stepping back. If you notice, we've been stepping back on all of these. We're not going to be stepping back, we're going to be stepping forward. So what happens is they've got my wrists. I'm going to clasp the hands together. Again, remember, I'm clasping this way, not ever this way, never interlacing, right? So, they got my wrists, I clasp them together. I'm going to step right between their feet with either leg, and I'm going to drive my elbows up by their ears. Then I'm going to back up, back off, leave me alone, right? Now, here's what I want you to remember. Think about this a second before you do it again. I don't want you to think about your arms, your hands when you're doing this. I want you to focus all your energy and all your thoughts on your elbows. Think about driving the elbows up high to your own ears or to your opponent's ears, right? So, he grabs you, 2 on 2, clasp together, step in and break. Now, not a bad situation, back off, leave me alone, right? Happens again, boom, right? I can strike, I can attack, if I need to. So depending on what the circumstances are, I can either attack or I can pull back and just say back off, leave me alone. Okay, good. Alrighty. Well, I think we're just about out of time, but I want to remind you, when we record this, when we put this up on the website, probably tonight, hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow, it's going to have more footage on these wrist releases. So you'll actually see me doing it. It was a few years ago that I filmed it, but I was doing it with a real partner, an actual opponent. All right? So it'd be a good idea to watch that. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Feet together, Kyosuke. Nice bow. And you are dismissed.
Techniques, at least for the most part. These are wrist releases. This is when somebody's grabbing your wrist, one wrist, two wrists, whatever. And so what we're going to do is we're going to learn to defend against these, and we're going to use some very, very basic techniques to do that. Again, realize that even though these are simple and in most cases annoyance techniques, they could be the beginning of a much more serious attack. For example, someone grabbing you to pull you into a car or to pull you into a hotel room or whatever it might be. So again, it's good to know how to get out of these quickly. So the first one we're going to do is what we call a same side wrist release. Chris is grabbing with his right to the same side, which is my left. The very first thing that I'm going to do as he grabs me is make a fist. The reason I'm making a fist is that Chris could very easily grab my fingers and put me in a very painful and a much worse situation than I'm in. So by making the fist, I prevent that. Now, what I want to do is, Chris is a bigger guy than me, and typically bigger people attack smaller people. But in any case, what I want to do is I want to try to get as much of my power, my body, use my body to break this release, not rely on the power of my arms. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be stepping back as I do this release using my opposite leg. And just always remember it's the opposite leg, whatever hand they have. The other key point in this is what I'm going to do is as I make the fist, I'm going to start to turn my wrist as I make this release, because what I want to do is I want to take the edge of my wrist and I want to have it point to the opening on the tip of his thumb. That's the weakest part of his grip, and that's where I want to pull. Even if it's here, I want to start to turn it as I make my release, and so I can open here. Okay, so what we're going to do from here, we'll start again. Chris grabs, same side, I make a fist. Now I'm gonna step back with the opposite leg, and I'm gonna twist that wrist as I showed you, and step way back into a deep stance, and jerk my hand back all the way to my shoulder. Now, I'm doing this in one motion. So what happens is I twist, I step back, and I break. And notice my eye contact remains directly on him. I've escaped the hold, but I haven't defeated my attacker. I don't know what his next move is going to be. And again, this is situational. If this happens where someone grabs you at a party and they're a little drunk, maybe all you need to do from here is back off, leave me alone. That might be the extent of what you need to do. Get back into your assertive behavior. But the situation might dictate that what we do is as we make the release, the hand is already here, we're going to attack with what we call a back fist strike. And using the back of the knuckles, and then step back into our assertive position if that's what we need. We may need to go further with it. The attack comes here, I make the release, I throw the back fist, I strike with a palm heel strike, and I drive in with some knee kicks. Bang, maybe into the face. Maybe finish up with an elbow technique. Again, depending on the situation. Situation dictates the rule. So that's what we call our first defense against a same side wrist release. The next defense we're going to work with is what we call a cross wrist grab. This is where Chris's left hand is going to come across and grab my left hand. So again, the first thing we're going to do is make that fist, for the same reason we said before. Now, to try to use the exact technique that we used in the same side wrist release won't work very well, because if I start to pull back here, if you notice I'm pulling against his entire hand. What I want to do is I need to get against that thumb. That's again the weakest part of his grip. So instead of coming straight over, what I'm going to do is make a very small circle over the top. It's important I go over the top so that I can work against the thumb. So from here I just make that circle, and then I take this foot and step back, and it's the same then as we did in the previous technique. So once again, he grabs, I make the fist, I make a small circle, I step back, I strike, and then I follow up with very basic, very simple techniques and finish him off. So we can do that one at more of a normal speed. So he attacks, circle out, back, boom, drive in, and then finish off again wherever I need to. Basic technique. Okay, the next one we're going to work on is what we call a 2-on-1 wrist release. So Chris is going to be grabbing my left hand with both of his hands this time. Now obviously, he's got a little more of an advantage here. He's got the strength of both of his arms. So what we want to do is we want to assist by using the other hand. So we're going to take this hand and we're going to reach in and we're going to grab our own hand. If you could just release that for a second, Chris. This is what it looks like, okay? We're going to be reaching right in and doing a grip on our other wrist. So once again, Chris grabs, I reach in. Again, always the opposite leg. I step back, same basic technique, same basic follow through, again, and continue. So again, situation that's not dangerous, back off, leave me alone. Situation that's more dangerous, he attacks, maybe I'm going to strike him first to loosen him up a little bit. Just a quick strike. Could be an eye poke, could be a slap. Then I reach in and grab, break, follow through. Man. If you notice, most of my head attacks, I'm using an open palm. And the reason is simple. Most people, or many, many times, break their hands by punching somebody in the face or head. It's very, very easy to break your hands. So you have to be very careful with that. So it's a lot safer, and the impact on a palm heel strike really is just as effective as a punch. Okay, so that's what we call a 2-on-1 wrist release. The next one we're going to do is what we call a double wrist, or 2 hands on 2. Okay? Now, in this one, it differs than the first 3 that we did, in that rather than stepping backwards, it's more effective in this particular technique if I step forward. Okay? So we're going to clasp the hands together the same way we did it in the last one, very similar, right together, and I'm going to step in right between his feet as I drive my elbows up this way. And from here, again, depending on the situation, I can just back off or More dangerous situation, I step in, bam, strike. Okay, so, again, situation dictates the rule. If need be, you can follow up with some strong techniques. If it's, again, a nuisance situation, you just escape the situation, get into your assertive posture, leave me alone, and back off.